T-minus 9 minutes. T-minus 8 minutes. T-minus 7 minutes. T-minus 6 minutes. T-minus 5 minutes. minus 2 minutes. Minus 1 minute. Stand by.
How about that?
Well, hello there, everybody. Welcome to the RP Show on a Tuesday. Scruffy's with me, and Alan May will be a little later on from the Washington Capitals Television Network. Yeah, as we roll along, a lot of things to get to here in the warm-up as we set sail on Game Plus TV, presented by Uniglobe Carefree Travel Group out there in Vancouver, but really all across Western Canada. And speaking of Vancouver, I'm not going to ring the bell. I'm not going to call it breaking news. What I will tell you is there is sad news from the West Coast, which everybody's lighting up our text line and the chat, and you're seeing it all over social media. John Garrett passing away, Scruffy, at the age of 74. Suddenly, they tell me, Vancouver Canucks, great broadcaster, goaltender, Hartford Whalers as well, but everybody remembers Cheech as a Vancouver Canuck. And I would say, listen, the Canucks fandom is in mourning today, but this is a loss for the entire National Hockey League, and we got to acknowledge John Garrett today.
Yeah, absolutely. Double gut punch for Canucks fans, longtime Canucks fans.
Right.
Jim Robson just left us just a couple of months ago. Now today, John Garrett. Don't know what happened, but obviously it was something sudden because I believe he was doing the Utah-Vegas series with Hunter Ryan Singh. I've been watching the games on ESPN, so I don't know that for sure, but that's what somebody said. But yeah, just a good guy. And I never had the chance to interact with him like I have many others, but everybody I've talked to in the hockey world said that this guy was just a beaut, a pure beaut. So that's a big loss for the hockey community today.
No doubt he's been on this show. I've chatted with him several times, and you said it very well there. We would all love to have the accolades and the awards and all the rest, but the very best thing at the end of your life is when people can say, like they're saying about John Garrett, he was just a really great guy. To me, that's the best legacy that you can leave. So condolences to the Canucks fans, John Garrett's family, friends, and fans. And yeah, and we'll stay with hockey as we roll out the quick six show topics again for Neil Chark of Uniglobe Carefree Travel Group, the official travel partner of the RP Show, and the BC Lions. Monday night, only 2 games, Scruffy, and I don't know how much. I'm not wearing Philly orange. This is Oilers orange, just so everybody knows, okay, in advance of your big game tonight. But I really enjoyed the Pittsburgh-Philadelphia game, and Vegas got up early in that one, then had to hold on and win in overtime and tie that series up 2-2. But more than anything, Pittsburgh's come back to win. They won last night 3-2. They're now down 3-2 in the series, going to Philly for Game 6, and the Flyers are going, roll. That's what everybody's saying. You think so, too?
Well, let's just go back a couple of years ago, Rod. The Florida Panthers had a 3-0 lead on the Edmonton Oilers in the Stanley Cup. Edmonton won Game 4, and everybody went, yeah, okay, fine. Then all of a sudden they won Game 5, and people started doing the same thing, and we know that series went 7 before Florida eventually won. That news, not, there yet, but certainly, though, I think that the Flyers, when they head to the rink today, they're not as optimistic as they were yesterday. And over on the Pittsburgh side, it's the other way around. So let's see what happens in Game 6. But right now, Philly still has the advantage, but how much of an advantage is it?
Well, look,
and that's it.
This is where you earn your stripes. And the older people watching this show, and I would include you and I in that category, but the young people don't get it yet, but they're going to. This is where you earn your stripes. Tampa was that. Tampa got up in series back in the day and blew it. Pittsburgh probably did too. I don't really remember, but this is where you earn your stripes. So am I going to say, would you say that Pittsburgh will come back and win, that Vegas will come back and win, that Tampa will? I don't think that all those teams are going to come back against the young upstart squads, but some of them will. And this is what makes it so fun.
I noticed last night, and I didn't watch all of that game last night, but I noticed that a certain player on Pittsburgh seemed to have a little bit more fire in his belly last night than what he usually has in this series. And that's a guy by the name of Sidney Crosby. And if Sidney Crosby wants to win, he's going to drag that team to the finish line and do whatever he can to win. So would I bet against Pittsburgh? No. Am I going to say that Pittsburgh's winning this series in 7? No. But this series isn't over yet.
No, and that's why I said in all my writings and columns and all the rest, I said so far playoff experience hasn't meant anything. But before the first round is even over, we're seeing these teams do the Hulk Hogan with the leg shaking on the bottom rope. But speaking of that, is that going to be the Oilers tonight, Mitch? That's the poll question for Country Thunder. Spoiler alert, that's the poll question.
Ronnie,
will the Oilers avoid elimination?
I don't know. It's pretty obvious that Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid are not 100%. That team took a huge gut punch with the way they lost Game 4. They're at home tonight. I think there's a pride factor there that the Edmonton Oilers do not want to see their season end on home ice. So I'm going to take them tonight. But would I be surprised if this was the last W of the year for the Edmonton Oilers? Nope, I wouldn't. And if Anaheim does win tonight, I think it's one of those games where, they either score late in the third to win it, maybe add an empty netter, or we go to overtime again. But I think Edmonton can win tonight, but after that, I don't know, because I don't think they're... This was a team, Rod, that took how long to win 3 straight in the regular season? And now you've got to win 3 straight to get into the second round. So I just don't like their chances tonight. Or to win the series. I'll take them tonight to win, but to win this series, I just can't see them beating Anaheim 3 in a row.
You got out of here yesterday without making your picks. I'm not going to let that happen again today, but I was 2 for 2, and I was sitting here going, well, I'm watching all of the games. I watched 8 to 9 hours of hockey on Sunday. If I wanted to watch sports 24/7, I could probably be a pretty good betting expert too. I just don't want to spend my whole life in front of a TV. I see how those guys do it. They watch the games. And of course, trends and all
and
the
they
rest.
Get paid for it. How did we not do that?
Well, it's funny because did you see Biz? You said you're watching.
Boat?
You're watching the American feeds. Biz says there's no busy bets anymore on TNT because he was wrong all the time. So it's not just us. Okay, we'll be back. 902-518-3033 is the Western Dodge text line. By the way, welcome back aboard Western Dodge, official travel provider of the RP show as we come back this summer. We'll be right back after this timeout on Game Plus TV.
Across America, Country Thunder Music Festivals bring you the biggest superstars. See unforgettable performances by Zach Top, Lainey Wilson, Brooks and Dunn, Keith Urban, Riley Green, the Red Clay Strays, Kane Brown, Gavin Adcock, and so many more. Join the party under the desert sky in Arizona, on the sandy shores of the Gulf in Florida, or in gorgeous Wisconsin Lake Country. It's the music you love, live and loud. Tickets, hotel, and camping info available at countrythunder.com.
Looking for a new ride without the big city pressure? Come to Western Dodge in Moose Jaw, where you'll find an unbeatable lineup of Ram trucks, Jeep SUVs, Dodge Muscle, and Chrysler family rides. With knowledgeable staff, great prices, and that friendly Moose Jaw touch, you'll drive away with confidence. Western Dodge, big selection, small town service. Visit us today or browse online at westerndodge.ca.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too.
Al-Anon and
Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
Across America, Country Thunder Music Festivals bring you the biggest superstars. See unforgettable performances by Zach Top, Lainey Wilson, Brooks and Dunn, Keith Urban, Riley Green, the Red Clay Strays, Kane Brown, Gavin Adcock, and so many more. Join the party under the desert sky in Arizona, on the sandy shores of the Gulf in Florida, or in gorgeous Wisconsin Lake Country. It's the music you love, live and loud. Tickets, hotel, and camping info available at countrythunder.com.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Ultimate Fan Zone, taking our show on the road coast to coast. Shop online, ultimatefanzone.ca. Slick, user-friendly. We built this site for the die-hard sports fans. Jerseys, hats, team apparel, offering officially licensed fan gear from the best lines in sports. Nike, New Era, Adidas, Fanatics. Game day ready to your door. Now, just a click away, ultimatefanzone.ca, or check us out on Facebook and Instagram. UFZ Downtown Moose Jaw, home of everything authentic.
21-time nominated Grammy Award winner Dwight Yoakam. Live in concert. June 24th, 7 p.m., Temple Garden Center. Dwight Yoakam. On sale now at sasktix.ca. Dwight Yoakam Live.
All right, welcome back, everybody. The text line is open. Everybody's all geeked up and ready to talk sports this morning, which is awesome. But just hang on. Are you ready for a new ride? Head to Western Dodge, where the deals are real and the service is legendary. Bob in Medicine Hat writes in on that text line. He says, "Good morning, Rod and Scruffy. Back watching again today. Your awesome show. You guys make my day. And then I go watch the Tigers take on Prince Albert tonight. Have a great day, guy." This is not Tiger Orange. This is Oiler Orange. I'll be cheering for my PA Raiders, my alum, tonight as it's 1-1 in the WHL Eastern Conference Final. 1-1 as they go into Game 3 in the Gas City tonight. That's very exciting. Yeah, you going to say something?
I was just going to say, you were talking about the busy bets.
Yeah.
I think you had left the Mighty 620, but the noon sponsor was Bodog, and I had to give a bet before, you today, the sport's brought to you by Bodog. Hey, tonight, take whatever. One of the sales guys comes up to me and says, have you been tracking your bets? And I said, no, why? He goes, you're 11-2 over the last 2 weeks. And I'm like, oh, okay, fine. So then I started tracking my bets and actually doing some stuff. And I was like 3-8 after that. So it's sort of like you get your hot streaks, you get your cold streaks.
Since you brought it up, in the 90s when sports betting became legal where we lived in the 306 and Sports Select was the sponsor, that they came to me and they said, we want you doing CFL picks and NHL picks. I said, nope, not a chance. And they said, why not? And I said, I don't want some guy going and dropping his freaking mortgage on bets because I told him and then lose. Won't do it. Nope. So I admire the people that do. But as I say, Biz isn't doing it anymore on the NHL on TNT, and they had a big laugh about it, that he's not doing it anymore. He's like, I've bankrupted people with my picks. So it's very, very, very dangerous. So good on you for doing that. Listen, I do want to get to a lot of the other sports topics here in the warm-up for Uniglobe Carefree Travel, but Troy in Toronto, since I have you here, Mitch, I got to put this to you. He says, if the Oilers lose tonight at home, what is the fallout or anything at all? I don't know the market, and was curious about both of your thoughts. I'll say this because he's a Leaf fan, and my God, have I enjoyed not hearing about the Leafs. But what will happen if and when the Oilers lose out, whether it's tonight or at some point in this series?
Well, that's a very good question. There was talk about Chris Knobloch being relieved of his duties earlier on this season. I would think that might happen. Again, this whole season's been a disaster. But when your top two players are injured and not in the playoffs at 100%, and I realize, you got to field the roster and go with what you are out there. But, did Chris Knobloch, is he going to get a fair shake? I don't know. He certainly has some criticism about the way that he just shakes up lines without really giving it a chance. To me, Roddy, I'd get rid of Stan Bowman. I think he's been a disaster. Although I will give him credit, though, because the Connor Murphy and Jason Dickinson trades did help out that team and have helped out that team. And I hope those two guys do stick around next year. But the Trent Frederick deal, a complete disaster. The Tristan Jarry deal certainly blew up in his face. So would I be surprised if Stan Bowman is relieved of his duties? No, I wouldn't. And then the new general manager will have to decide on Chris Knobloch. And we know what usually happens there. So
Leafs West.
Yeah.
Leafs West.
Yep, exactly.
By the way,
Absolutely.
you brought something up earlier about the Panthers being up 3-0 in the Stanley Cup Final Cup years ago. And, I've never ever talked about this with you or anybody for that matter, but I'll do it here today. They were up 3-0, and they loaded the plane full of staff and staff's families and all the mucky mucks. And I was like, don't do that. And that's, of course they lose. They're bombed 6-1, and Sergei Bobrovsky got lifted in that game 4. And of course it touched off the Oilers coming back and winning and forcing a game 7. But I wonder what you think about that. I would love to get everybody's thoughts on that, because when we won a championship with the Rough Riders in 2007, we went on our own team playing with the same bunch of guys and gals that were all year. And then we had another plane or two with the aforementioned, all that. The staff, the wives, the this, the that. I didn't like it at the time, but that's just me. I don't think they regret it, but it totally upset the apple cart.
I don't disagree with you. I think that you continue to have your traveling party be what your traveling party was from game 1 of the season on. But when you have, something of that magnitude, you want people to be there that are a part of the organization, but don't put them on the same plane, because that's a little bit. I agree with what the Riders did there and having all those people come separately. And I don't know, Rod, because there are so many days off in between games, and I'd have to go back and look to see, was it a day off, 2 days off? But fly them in before the game. You don't need to have them there for the time that the Panthers or whoever that they landed on the ground in Edmonton. Have them fly in the day of the game.
Okay. I have a note on Aaron Rodgers. Did you see the Schefter report? There's what the
and I'm
Pittsburgh
trying to
Steelers did today.
decipher it because it's odd because it's something that teams don't usually do.
No, it's like called the rare right of first refusal tag or something like that. They've put on Aaron Rodgers. But you know what? Because this is the Canadian Hour, the CFL fans are all horny today. They've all come here because of the draft is tonight. So let's spend some time on this. I'll talk about Aaron Rodgers. Don't. I mean, I don't know. Listen,
I haven't seen one thing. Not one thing on TSN about the draft being tonight. I think I've seen 2 teams put something out about, hey, we're drafting tonight. Like, what are we doing? Like, hello,
I'm trying
CFL,
to stay positive.
What are we doing here? Like,
yeah.
You want to defend them, but you can't sometimes. It's because they just, I don't know. I'm lost.
Well, the people are all writing in some.
Damn the rule changes! Ah!
It is a little odd.
Maybe concentrate on some other issues, fans, because you're just not getting it.
Well, all I will say, Scruffy's not into the draft. I'm into it because I'm trying to be a positive guy. Okay? I don't know who the number one guy is going to be. I mean, it's never, I mean, I've been following this thing since I think 92, 93 when they had the live event in Saskatoon, which is awesome. For whatever reason, it was great. But I think that was 30 years ago. That ship has sailed. That horse is out of the barn, down the road, gone, probably shot by now. They're never going to do a live NFL-style event. I meant to get into this with Kevin the Medium last week. I guess we did a little bit. I said, if you had an unlimited budget, what would you do? But, of course, he went way off. He said, I'd have millions, and I'd bring in bands, and how about a CFL budget? How about a, Coors Light budget or a Schlitz budget to do something?
Roddy, if
would
you
it
put people in
take off?
Confederation Park for the draft, how many people would show up?
You wouldn't know until you try.
That's true.
Is the point. You wouldn't know until you try. I guess this says a lot. And I'm trying to be positive. Can the record show Rod's trying to be positive? Arlen Bruce has just showed up in the chat with NHL picks for tonight. He's not even following the CFL draft, and he's a 2-time Grey Cup winner. So I'll say I'll be following pick by pick online. I will. I'm excited for the Charlie Parks of the world, the Regina kid, star of the U of S Husky, right? It's huge for them. Let's at least admit it's life-changing for the prospects.
Yeah, no, absolutely it is. I saw a mock draft. I think it was in the 3 Down Nation, and I may be wrong with that, so if I am, excuse me. But they had Charlie Parks going in the last round of the Riders. If Charlie Parks goes in the last round of the Riders, that's an embarrassment to the other teams in the CFL. Because I think Charlie Parks could go at least mid-3rd, if not higher. And if he's there at 18, and I believe the Riders have that second-round pick at 18, I'd be jumping all over that because that kid is going to be a player. He was a player at Sheldon Williams. He was a guy that the Regina Rams wanted but couldn't get because of the program he wanted to take. He's going to be a stud.
Well, Utah Darren writes in, he says, isn't it hard to get geeked up over a draft where it seems the players may or may not even come play for the teams? That's always been the way. I don't know. I try to talk CFL, and it just turns into negative shit all the time. I'm trying to be positive.
Yeah,
and
I
just
guess
people don't want it. So I don't really know what they want.
And it's funny because I remember somebody going, why do they pick these guys from the U.S.? Like, whatever. And it's like, because they're Canadian born. Oh.
Yeah.
But there are
not
guys
that hard to
like,
figure out.
No, it's not. But it was to some people. Like Mesidor, the kid from Miami. Somebody will take a shot on him tonight. He's the number 1 prospect. He just got taken in the first round by the Chargers, so you're not going to see the kid up here for probably at least minimum 2-3 years, and then that would mean he'd have to be a complete first-round bust. But somebody will take him, and teams will be going, well, why do you do that? Like, why are you wasting the pick? Well, it's because he's probably going to go in the 6th or 7th round. And teams are willing to roll the dice at that point.
You know, I had written down here the question, and I said yesterday with you, I said the CFL Draft is Tuesday night, so let's spend some time on it on Tuesday. And I would ask you this, how has it changed over the years with all of the things that you're talking about? But who would have ever thought that Christian Covington would show up back in the CFL after all those years in the NFL, almost a decade? Yeah. Like, it still happens. So you still got to take a shot on a guy like that. And Mike Davis talked about it on Friday here. You know, he was in the CFL for 5 years. He's in Vegas now with the Nighthawks. But he says everybody brings up David Onyemata. He never ever set foot on a CFL field, or you know what I mean. A U Sports field he did, but not a CFL field. You never know. It's up to the player. I mean, Christian Covington, I would think, would have made enough money in the NFL. He didn't really need to come to the CFL, but he wants to play.
Yep.
You know, similarly to
and I think
Curtis,
you made the kid out of Winnipeg.
How so?
Well, Taylor Eldrisman was a guy that, you know, he went and got drafted by Winnipeg. He ended up signing with Green Bay, spent, a year or two in the practice roster. Now it's the UFL, and the UFL doesn't want him, so now it's like, you know what, I want to play. Here we go. Nathan Rourke, same thing. I think Rider fans are hoping Curtis Rourke does the same thing. It's just sort of like, we got to be patient with these guys. And if they don't pan out in the NFL, they have an avenue to come to.
Oh, it has changed. And for anybody that cares, it's fascinating to follow how it has changed. Because, again, Mike Davis was awesome on Friday's show talking about the NIL money that these kids are making now. Like, it's not going to set them up, most of them, for the rest of their life. The quarterbacks, yes. There's guys making $5 to $10 million a year in college football right now. It's unbelievable what they are. You know, it does change whether they want to come to Canada or not. But I still go back to the Ricky Rays and the Dave Dickinsons. You remember the era. We all said, do you want to hold a clipboard in the NFL or come back to the CFL? Because to be honest, the money at that time wasn't that different. Now it's not even, are you kidding me? Curtis Rourke, I'll hold a clipboard for $3 million a year. I will.
Do you think Diego Pavia would even look at coming to Winnipeg?
He's going to have to.
Yeah. If he wants to play.
Everybody, this is the Vanderbilt quarterback who wasn't drafted, and for a variety of reasons, the scouts don't think he can play, but he was still a Heisman finalist. We got to, I guess, talk about this when we come back. By the way, 2 teams that didn't have anybody drafted this year, Mitch, Colorado Buffaloes, North Carolina Tar Heels. That was discussed this morning with Florio. You know, you thought you'd go play for Belichick, it would get you drafted, or Coach Prime. And they didn't have one player drafted. We'll be back in a moment. We've hit on something. And more hockey, too, coming up. 902-518-3033. We'll be right back on Game Plus TV.
Ultimate Fan Zone, taking our show on the road coast to coast. Shop online, ultimatefanzone.ca. Slick, user-friendly. We built this site for the die-hard sports fans. Jerseys, hats, team apparel, offering officially licensed fan gear from the best lines in sports. Nike, New Era, Adidas, Fanatics. Game day ready to your door. Now, just a click away. ultimatefanzone.ca or check us out on Facebook and Instagram. UFZ Downtown Moose Jaw, home of everything authentic.
Across America, Country Thunder Music Festivals bring you the biggest superstars. See unforgettable performances by Zach Top, Lainey Wilson, Brooks and Dunn, Keith Urban, Riley Green, the Red Clay Strays, Kane Brown, Gavin Adcock, and so many more. Join the party under the desert sky in Arizona, on the sandy shores of the Gulf in Florida, or in gorgeous Wisconsin Lake Country. It's the music you love, live and loud. Tickets, hotel, and camping info available at countrythunder.com.
You have a vision, a big idea, but how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection, booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events. That's the EMJ difference. We position your brand where it belongs, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
Across America, Country Thunder Music Festivals bring you the biggest superstars. See unforgettable performances by Zach Top, Lainey Wilson, Brooks and Dunn, Keith Urban, Riley Green, the Red Clay Strays, Kane Brown, Gavin Adcock, and so many more. Join the party under the desert sky in Arizona, on the sandy shores of the Gulf in Florida, or in gorgeous Wisconsin Lake Country. It's the music you love, live and loud. Tickets, hotel, and camping info available at countrythunder.com.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
All right, we're back on Game Plus TV, and it's always a lot of fun with Scruffy. Let's keep it fun. Darren in Utah, by the way, wants to clarify. He goes, I'm not trying to be negative with the CFL draft because I just think it would be tough for fans and especially GMs and coaches to do a draft to help the team. No, but that's what's interesting about the CFL draft because it's so hard. You're drafting guys that you want that would help the team, that you hope one day will show up. Draft by position, it's very tricky. And for that reason, for those of us that love it, it is very interesting. And Mitch is not wrong when he says it would be nice if it was promoted a little more. Colt from San Diego writes, and he says, good morning, everyone. Happy draft day. Let's go. Ducks. My Ducks are winning game 5 tonight. Jason in Red Deer says, shoot, I'd hold a clipboard for $250,000 a year. I heard a story of here's one for you, Mitch. From a college coach I heard. I don't want to say the school. He had a year left on his deal. The school fired him. He had $1.2 million coming to him, and he goes, I'll just take a buyout on that. And they said, no, you won't. You're going to show up and sit at a desk every day for 6 hours for a year to collect that money. Would you?
It all depends what I had for offers. And
right,
how much those offers were paying me.
He did it. I think I would do it. For $1.2 million, I could sit at a desk every day and do nothing. A lot of people said a lot of people sit at their desk and do nothing all day for a lot less. You and I work for people like that.
Got your tickets to the dinner yet?
Can't even spell AI, Mitch said. 902-518-3033. As I get ready to move on, David in Winnipeg writes, and he says, good morning, Rod. Which quarterback will likely start in the CFL? Pavia or El Guerzma? Zach Calero's best before date is probably already passed. That's what they have training camp for. So it's a very, out of those three, Pavia, El Guerzma, or Zach, my money would be on Zach, to be perfectly honest, starting in week 1. That's just
for this year?
Yeah.
For this season?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. Caleros is the number one guy. But like Trevor Harris here, Zach Caleros might be retiring at the end of this season. And I'm not saying that Trevor Harris is going to retire because we don't know what type of season he's going to have. But if Trevor Harris steps down, Jack Cohn is probably your guy unless Curtis Work decides to show up. If
Which
Zach
he won't.
Caleros retires in Winnipeg, I would think if he's in camp, that Eldrisma would be your starter in 27. He'd be slotted in to be your number one guy. And the big question about Diego Pavia and any other quarterback that comes up here, whether they be high profile or not, is obviously the nuances of the Canadian game. And Roddy, wasn't
Of
there
course.
a high profile quarterback that came to Saskatchewan and he was just garbage, and they said after his hands weren't big enough for the football to throw it to the wide side?
Name a bunch of them did. When you just said that, Vince Young comes to mind. You obviously aren't meaning Vince Young, but I mean, there's been a ton of guys. There's a ton of guys. But Ryan McCarthy, Ryan in upstate New York, writes, and he says, a part-time job for 6 months at $1.2 million a year? Yes, please. You have to understand something. These coaches were sitting around with me in a press box. This was like a year or two ago, and they were saying, can you believe the school's making him do this? They're making him show up every day and do nothing to collect 1 point. I'm like, guys, say it out loud again. I think we would all.
But, you know, if you want goals, that's what you've got. Everything advertised. But I still think it's probably Tampa, Montreal. And I think Buffalo probably knocks off Boston tonight, so there's one of my picks. How fun will Buffalo, Montreal, or Buffalo, Tampa be in the second round?
Buffalo and Tampa hate each other. They hate each other.
Yes, they do.
And the Panthers feel so left out for obvious reasons. But you know, here's another one, because I'm seeing this all over social media. We got a lot of American viewers tuning in here, a lot of social media followers. They're saying how great the Stanley Cup playoffs are, which they are, but I mean, you and I and most of our viewers are going to be watching anyways, right? I don't, whether they're good, they're bad, we're always watching no matter what. But the one thing, this came up late last week, is they're not watching the NBA, which, by the way, you and I never watched the NBA, so it's not news to us. But how do you think the NBA felt that Charles Barkley said, yeah, I'm watching these NHL playoffs and they're great? The NBA is boring. How do you think the NBA would feel about that? How would you think that they would take that?
Well, I'm sure they wouldn't like it, but I think Charles Barkley has gathered enough street cred that they're not going to challenge him. They might send a strongly worded email or text to him, but like, I'm sorry. Like, has the Toronto Raptors beat Cleveland on Sunday and it was like by less than 5? Roddy, I don't know when I take a look at NBA scores how many playoff games there have been this year where the final decision has been like by 5 or less. Like last night, a couple of double-digit wins. Like, it's just not good.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I've never worked in a league office.
What would people be saying if every game in the Stanley Cup final in the first round was finishing like 6-3, 5-0, 4-1? Like, people be going like, what's going on here? And that's what's happening.
The thing is, I know, and I don't know what those conversations are like in the corner offices, the ivory towers, because I've never been in them. Like Adam Silver, you would think, would be worried. Yet the NBA is just viewed as this iconic global brand, which frankly it is, compared to the NHL. But the ratings are showing that the NHL surpassed it in America, and we always knew that the NHL was number one in Canada anyway. So I don't know whether they worry or not, which goes back to like Brendan Griffiths, yours and my great friend. I'm out of here. Brendan Griffiths wrote into our Facebook page on the controversial overtime goal for the Oilers and Ducks game 4. And he goes, this was a procedural F-up by the NHL. But what did I say to you yesterday? I don't want to point that out because that pisses the NHL off. They know, however you want to dice it, it doesn't look good. I think they would rather just like
But
move
here's
on.
the thing, Rod. Here's the thing. And you talked about that. You know, you don't want to talk about it. Well, you know, everything I listened to yesterday, when I left here yesterday, I hit the highway because I had about an hour and a half trip I had to make. Victoria Matiash and Jake Hahn on NHL Radio, they were talking about it. Sportsnet's fan show was talking about it. The TSN guys were talking about it. Driving home yesterday, Coolius and those guys are talking about it. Last night, the ESPN guys are talking about it. Bryn's right. This was a procedural F-up. And the NHL has egg on its face. But like, you can't sugarcoat what happened. And I'm not saying that as an Oilers fan, because there are so many people out there that are just hockey fans that are going, and hockey people that are going, yeah, the NHL's screwed up here. Now, how does that get fixed?
Hey,
we'll find out in the offseason.
If it is at all. I'll read all these comments from the viewers after, because me and Scruffy time and it's running out. But you and I are due a phone call, because I found out recently, and I thought the NHL owned NHL radio. You would think that it does, right? The NFL owns NFL Network, or did. I think ESPN does now. Wait a minute, NFL's bought them all. But no, NHL radio is not owned by the NHL, and I thought that it was. So, i.e., those guys can say whatever they want. But you couldn't, to quote Joe Diffie, set me on fire and roll me down a hill. I'm not saying anything bad about the NHL, because that is my future. And as far as the CFL goes, that horse is out of the barn. It don't matter what I say now. It's gone, right? So all I'm saying is I won't criticize them, because they don't like it. They don't like it. Who does? So all those things that you just said aren't rights holders, from what I could tell. All those networks.
Sportsnet is. You just Rogers is.
Okay. And who was bitching about it from Sportsnet?
Friedman, Bieksa, Amber, McLean, everybody.
Were they were hammering the NHL?
Yeah, they said, like, this was wrong.
Okay. Well, we'll see where the chips fall. Have a good one, Scruffy. Thank you. We'll be right back.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
You have a vision, a big idea, but how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events. That's the EMJ difference. We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote your rebel, we partner. Your growth,
our mission.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Just an absolutely fantastic show today. I thank Scruffy for that. As we roll, we're barely through the quick 6 show topics. I think we're like 3 through. Brought to you by Uniglobe Carefree Travel Group, the preferred travel partner of the RP show, and the BC Lions. When it comes to sports trips, group travel, or your next great getaway, trust the pros who handle every detail so you can enjoy the journey. Contact Neil Chark with Uniglobe Carefree Travel. I know they're watching right now. We'll get to our picks next hour for tonight. Pump Jack's Steakhouse and Saloon brings you our picks daily of the NHL games. Pump Jack's Cathedral and Pump Jack's Weyburn. Come early, stay late at the place where friends meet. I was 2 for 2 last night. Not a big deal. 0.4. 1 was the NHL last night. 2 was the CFL Draft. 3 is the NHL tonight, which we quasi talked about, but it's more Oilers. And the poll question, that's the only thing we talked about was tonight's Oiler game. The poll question for Country Thunder is, will the Oilers stave off elimination tonight? It's the only time of the year that we use the term stave. I feel like it's a great word that should be used year-round, but we only use it in the hockey playoffs. Like, I staved off going to get groceries today. I staved off getting an oil change. Anyways, poll question. For Country Thunder, the biggest party of the summer is coming to Craven, Saskatchewan, July 9th to the 12th, featuring Lainey Wilson and Creed and the RP Show. Get your tickets now at countrythunder.com/SK. Just $20 down secures your weekend pass. 0.4. Boston starter Rangers Suarez was brilliant over 8 shutout innings to help the Red Sox extend their win streak to 3 games with a 5-0 victory over the Toronto Blue Jays Monday night. Jays have dropped 3 of their last 8. I will say this. I realize it now. I spent 9 months out of Saskatchewan, 3 months in Saskatchewan, and it's amazing. But once you get outside Saskatchewan, I can see why the CFL and other leagues want to avoid the Stanley Cup playoffs at all costs. Because, quite frankly, that's what everybody in Canada is watching. I get it now. But when you're living there and the Riders are number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, that's all you think there is. And as far as the Blue Jays go, I watch them if they're winning, and they're not winning. They're 12-16. Scruffy mentioned the NBA. And there are some comments that have come in from our viewers regarding the NBA. From Monday, Oklahoma City swept out Phoenix 131-122 in Game 4. Orlando beat Detroit 94-88. The Magic leads the series 3-1, and the Pistons are the number 1 seed. See, I'm following it. We just don't talk about it here because you said you don't want to. Denver beat Minnesota last night, 125-113. The T-Wolves up in that series 3 games to 2. Oh, by the way, the results of the poll so far, will the Oilers stave off elimination tonight? 64% of you saying, yes, they will. But we all need to be watching, right? Because we just don't know. And the other thing, Troy in Toronto wrote in and says, if the Oilers lose tonight or anywhere in this series, what's the fallout going to be? I feel like you need to ask an Oiler pundit, but not an Oiler fan. With all due apologies to Scruffy, he's too much of an Oiler fan. Yes, he thinks Stan Bowman should be fired, but I think that's the fan in him coming up. I don't know. And that's the key distinction between needing people that are covering your team that aren't fans. 101. We hit on it today, folks. You can't have media that's fans. It's rare now, because I'm going to tell you something. There's a lot of Panthers fans here in South Florida that are pissed off at me that I'm jumped on the Thunder bandwagon. I'm like, well, hello, you're not playing. So some were also very upset when I said that if you had to put a gun to my head and asked who was my favorite NHL team, I'd say Vegas. For a variety of, they were upset about that. But I don't want to be fanboy because it clouds your judgment of the team. You know, a lot of the media here in Florida have said, who have you got to be good friends with on the Panthers since you've been covering the... No, none. I got enough friends. I don't need to hang around with any more hockey players. We're good. Makes it a lot easier to be critical. Fortunately, we haven't had to be. By the way, Alan May coming up in the next hour. Washington Capitals TV analyst, NHL, WHL, and SJHL alum. He says, are you building a shop, barn, rink, or commercial space? It's brought to you by Prairie Panels. Prairie Panels provides high-quality insulated wall and roof panels designed for durability and energy efficiency. Visit prairiepanels.ca or call 306-985-0050. And just so you know, if I lived in Vegas and they asked me who was your favorite team, I would say probably the Florida Panthers. What did Roddy Piper say in the 80s? Just when you think you figured out the question, you think you got the answer, I changed the question. It's been 40 years. Forgive me for taking a while to remember that. Interesting how so many of you have jumped on the Diego Pavia train. And for those that don't know, this is the Vanderbilt quarterback who finished behind Fernando Mendoza in voting for the Heisman, the top college football player of the year. And that night when he found out he didn't win, he took to Instagram and said, F the voters. Didn't get drafted on the weekend at all. Just so you know, he's the first Heisman finalist to not get drafted in the NFL draft since Jordan Lynch, which was like 2012. Feels like it should have been a lot longer ago than that. But still, he's undrafted. I guess he got a tryout, though, did he not? Either way, people are saying that he should go to the CFL. Ken writes in and says, I read that Diego Pavia does not have an agent, that he represents himself. Well, that's another thing is, I don't know, man. I'm trying to stay off my phone after hours, and I really enjoy it because my blood pressure has gone down and my enjoyment of sports has gone up. But I am missing out on a lot of information like this. I mean, the one thing I heard this morning from Mike Florio, my guy on NBC Sports Radio, said, I guess Pavia told people he's being advised by Johnny Manziel in this whole process. And Florio goes, maybe don't say that. There aren't many people in the NFL that have a worse name than Johnny Manziel. And Johnny doesn't even know it. That's the saddest part. He's not even aware. Utah Darren writes that he says the NBA is unwatchable. The NHL playoffs blow the doors off the NBA. We've had NBA playoff teams in Utah off and on for 45 years, and this is the first NHL playoff journey wipes the floor with the NBA. Right? And that's why I think the NHL would really prefer that you don't sit and beat on them. Not you, but anybody for that matter. And don't think for a second they're not taking names. Like Scruffy just said, oh, Friedman's saying it. BX is saying it. Doesn't mean they're not keeping track. So I'll say it again. I listen to Joe Rose every single morning in Miami radio here, Dolphins alum, and he's on the radio, and he says the Dolphins won't put anybody on his show anymore because he's been too critical of the Dolphins. I don't know how that would be breaking news to anybody. They're keeping track. They're keeping score. As I said on Monday, these are the situations, like the controversial goal and the winner for the Ducks, is that the leagues hate. In this case, the NHL, but every league hates that. I think we can all see that it was botched. And it's hard. That's why I don't mind being alone here, because I can tell more of my own stories. When they had the CFL week back in the day, some of you would have maybe participated in this. They had one in Regina. They had one in Winnipeg, CFL week. And the CFL head office set up a simulator for video replay. So it's like, okay, we're gonna play a bunch of controversial plays on this big screen, and you be the ref, and you sit there and you make a decision, and we're gonna time you. Oh, okay, sure. So I sat in the simulator, I watched the film, and then Glenn Johnson was the head of officiating. And we have had a truculent history, Glenn Johnson and I. And he's got a stopwatch in my face. He's like, okay, make a decision. And I'm like, whoa, time out. Not my job, it's yours. I don't care if it's hard. Make the right call. What I do is hard, okay? Don't put it on me. Oh, there's a lot of pressure sitting there. We got to make the right call in 3 minutes. So make it. You've got the opportunity with 36 different camera angles and HD to get the call right. Don't F it up. But they do. It's hard. I get in the heat of the moment, one time through, I totally get it. Which is, by the way, the other thing, as a goalie, this is why I think that it was botched. And again, what do they all say? Everybody knows it is. Or just some are afraid to say it. As a goalie, we were always playing that game, trying to hide it whether it was over the goal line or not. And you could never tell. If you can't, what is the rule? If you can see white ice between the puck and the line, it's a goal. We can't see it. So, shouldn't have been a goal. And they called it a goal, and therein is the screw up. So again, when you have an opportunity, I don't care how much time you have. You have a second chance with slow-mo and HD. Figure it out. Ryan in upstate New York says, truculent. Great word. Yeah, Brian Burke's face popped into my head when I said that. Utah Darren says, Johnny Manziel eventually went to the AAF and CFL. Both leagues got rid of him, and the Indoor Football League. I was calling games in the CFL when Johnny was in it. I'll tell you I was on the field with Johnny Manziel, and the one thing that surprised me about him was how big he was. You want some Johnny Manziel stories? I'll tell you more, because that's the one thing that the fans don't understand. He had a target on him every time he stepped on the field. So the fact that he did all the great things he did at Texas A&M, and went in the first round of Cleveland is a huge deal, because our guys couldn't wait to sack him, and they couldn't put a hand on him. He was that. I'm talking about our defensive players. He was that good. Struggled up there. Struggles up there. Alan May joining us next hour. It's been fun today, right? We'll be right back here on Game Plus TV and WQVZ.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
You have a vision, a big idea, but how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events, that's the EMJ difference. We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
You have a vision, a big idea, but how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events, that's the EMJ difference. We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
How about that?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's a special day, and I don't know what makes it such a special day. It just feels like any other day. It's a Tuesday. It's episode number 1726 of your favorite daytime sports talk show, and I know that it's your favorite because you're here watching on Game Plus and Silver State Sports and listening on the radio, WQVZ. Maybe you're listening later in podcast, whatever it is. Thanks for joining us. It's special because you never really know who the celebrities are and big names. All of our viewers are celebrities in my mind. But a special shout out, Zach Benson of the Buffalo Sabres is watching, and right now, and it's fun. They got a game tonight, and it's they're home to the Boston Bruins in Game 5 of their first round Stanley Cup playoff series. And we were just talking about you, Zach, the other day. Just so you know, maybe he was watching then. I don't know. I sat here and I thought, do we air in New York? Oh, yes, we do. That explains it. Zach, you go get him tonight. What I was saying yesterday, by the way, was that Zach Benson is half the size of Nikita Zadorov of the Boston Bruins and has twice the heart. And we saw it in Game 4. And I guess that's a good place to start. Go, Zach, go. Love that kid. Former Winnipeg Ice. The Quick Six Show topics brought to you by Uniglobe Carefree Travel Group, the preferred travel partner of the RP Show and the BC Lions when it comes to sports trips, group travel, or your next great getaway. Trust the pros who handle every detail so you can enjoy the journey. Contact Neil Chark with Uniglobe Carefree Travel. I always said, as a guy that traveled with teams, worked with teams for decades, we're always sitting in the hotel room or at home on a game day with nothing to watch. You get tired of Jerry Springer and Phil Donahue and Oprah and The View. You do. We need a live sports show. That's kind of where this started. So I know they're all watching. So tonight's, should we make the picks now? Should we make the picks? We might as well. Point one is tonight's Stanley Cup playoff games. Boston and Buffalo. Sabres leading the series 3-1. Come on, close that out. Because of you, Zach, and you're watching, I'm going to take the Sabres to win. Don't let me down. And you never do. At some point, we got to find out what changed besides the firing of the general manager, Kevin Adams, because it was literally Minnesota at Dallas tonight in Game 5. You know, as I said with Scruffy last hour, what's been the best series? Maybe this. Here's the Minnesota-Dallas one has been very tight, right? Some overtime games and so forth. It's 2-2, Game 5 tonight in the Big D, and I'll take Dallas, and I took Dallas to win the series. But it doesn't have the big hits. It doesn't have the rough stuff. It doesn't have the explosions of the Montreal-Tampa Bay series, which incidentally, they're off tonight, which is too bad. But I don't know why they need 2 days to travel, but whatever. And then Anaheim at Edmonton tonight. That's an easy one for me. It's Oilers. We're going to find out what this team's made of. And the poll question today for Country Thunder. The biggest party of the summer is coming to Craven, Saskatchewan, July 9th to the 12th, featuring Lainey Wilson and Creed. Get your tickets now at countrythunder.com/SK. Will the Oilers stave off elimination tonight? And 74% of you now saying, yeah, they will stave off elimination. The only time of the year we use the term stave. I feel like it's such a great word. We should use it a lot more than just one time of the year, hockey playoffs. But I got Edmonton to win tonight. So Buffalo, Dallas, and Edmonton. Go, Sabres, go. And it's interesting. It came up in my Facebook memories yesterday, so I saved the video and reposted it. The American Bank Arena here in Sunrise, Florida, just 19th, the fourth biggest rink in the NHL, 19,250, going nuts, waving the towels. I'm like, I miss it so bad. But it'll be back next year. But look at the Buffalo fans, the Anaheim fans, the Utah fans. I think that's got to be why the ratings are so high, especially in America, because there's so many new teams involved. Sorry, it is what it is. Sorry for those that are out. You know, we don't see the Detroits, we don't see the Rangers, Chicagos, and the ratings are up, man. I'm sure that in the NHL offices, they're sitting back looking at all this going, yeah, because we didn't know how it would play out, right? Going into the playoffs, having only 3 Canadian teams and second over ever for playoff teams has resulted in the biggest ratings in 14 years. And I feel like it's on the way to the biggest ratings ever. By the way, coming up this hour, Alan May, my great friend. Well, Alan was the guy. I said to him, how do you think it's going to play out, Al? Last time he was on Washington Capitals TV. I love him, and he knows I love him. I said, how's he going to play out with all these new teams and not so many Canadian teams? He goes, whoever gets in will have earned it, period. Right. Thanks. Nobody's bitching about who's in, and it's been fantastic. Anyways, the appearance with Alan May, the Edmonton product, WHL, SJHL, and NHL alum Alan May is brought to you by Prairie Panels. Are you building a shop, a barn, a rink, or a commercial space, or upgrading maybe? Prairie Panels provides high-quality insulated wall and roof panels designed for durability and energy efficiency. Visit prairiepanels.ca or call 306-985-0050. They do good work. Take my word for it. By the way, you can write in on the YouTube chat. Okay. I don't know how this happened, but that's what's exciting about it. You don't know how things are going to go. By the way, Rob writes in, Rob from Las Vegas, he says he's excited for the CFL Draft tonight. That's awesome. We talked about it at length last hour in the Canadian Hour. So I would invite you to rewind to go watch it there, because this is the U.S. Hour on Silver State Sports, your town, and also Game Plus TV, where we are airing across Canada and 32 states. We even talk about this. Sources telling ESPN the Pittsburgh Steelers placed the rare right of first refusal tender on Aaron Rodgers, meaning that he can accept a 10% raise off last year's salary, which would pay him about $15 million this season. And the Steelers also now will have to have the right to match any offer sheet he would sign with another team, because as you recall, he only signed a 1-year deal last year. As another condition of the tender, Rodgers would only be able to sign with the Steelers once training camp begins. And listen, it's kind of the Aaron Rodgers noise. I totally get that. What far more people are talking about, where I said I didn't really see this going down this road today, is Diego Pavia is like the hottest talk in football right now. And just bear with me before we go back to the Stanley Cup playoffs for a second. And then Alan May comes in after that. So Diego Pavia, quarterback at Vanderbilt, had a tremendous year. He and the team. He finished, was it second? Either way, he was a finalist for the Heisman as the college football player of the year, to Fernando Mendoza, who ended up going number 1 overall. Diego Pavia, when he didn't win the Heisman, took to Instagram and said, F the voters. Probably not a good idea. Didn't get drafted. But they're not even saying that's the reason why he didn't get drafted. They're saying it's because he's too small. He's not a pro quarterback. So everybody's saying that he needs to go to the CFL. He needs to go to the UFL. And it spawned this discussion amongst our viewers about Johnny Manziel. And how far do we want to go down this road? It's well documented that Johnny Manziel's had substance abuse issues. That's not a secret. I'm not breaking any anonymity or anything here at all on that. And when he came to the CFL, I was working in the CFL with Saskatchewan. He was signed in Hamilton. So I called the general manager of the Tiger Cats at the time. He's a very close friend of mine. I said, hey, Johnny Manziel's right in the wheelhouse of guys I like to work with that are having off-field issues. And he said, the GM of the Hamilton Tiger Cats said, how's that going to work? You're working for another team. And I said, so what? We won't talk about any playbooks or any personnel or anything like that. It's totally about getting him on track. He's like, no, I can't do that. And that was like literally the first day, that was the first moment in my life where I'm like, I can't. If I have to choose between the two, I want to do the recovery work, not the play-by-play. It was the first day that happened because of Johnny Manziel. Now, as it turns out, as we sit here today, Tuesday, April 28th, Johnny still has not changed anything at all, from what we can tell. So back to why am I tying in Johnny Manziel? Because I learned this morning while listening to NBC Sports Radio with Mike Florio that Diego Pavia has said that Johnny Manziel is advising him on what his next move should be pro football-wise. And Florio goes, maybe don't say that out loud. There's a lot of other guys I would go to for advice, that's all. But the thing with Manziel, what's sad about it is, yeah, he ended up... I've got a very good friend who works in the recovery industry in Montreal. I think I can say it all now because Manziel's career is over as far as playing goes. Sober coach, does what I do, but he lives in Montreal, calls me middle of the summer, whatever year it was, like 2016, and he's like, is Johnny Manziel supposed to be drinking? And I'm like, I don't think so. Because he signed a contract with the CFL, stipulated a list of things. That was one of them. He goes, I'm looking at him right now on Peel Street. He's having a beer. I said, don't call me. Call Cavis Reed, his general manager. And he might have, I don't know. Doesn't matter. Utah Darren writes in and says, Pavia did the same after being drafted. F the NFL was his second message. Yeah, maybe the kid's got some issues and he should get those straightened out before he thinks about football. And but wait, Johnny Manziel is going to tell him what to do. Okay. David, number 2, is watching in Winnipeg. He writes in and he says, one of the most iconic hockey play-by-play calls. Mayday, Mayday. Not this May. That's a different May. This is Alan May. That was Brad May, wasn't it? Either way, they're both great. But it's Alan May that'll be joining us next from Washington Capitals Television. Gary with 2 R's writes in. He's watching in Penticton, British Columbia. He says, Aaron Rodgers is not worth $15 million. He should retire. Okay, fair, but it's his life. Where was I? Nowhere, really, is kind of the answer. It really was nowhere. (902-518-3033) is the text line, proudly brought to you by our friends at Western Dodge. A lot of people writing in, talking. Listen, I get it. It's a very exciting time of year in junior hockey. Okay, the conference finals are going on in the Western Hockey League, but we talked about all that in the Canadian Hour, Hour 1. All right, we're keeping it to the Stanley Cup playoffs. We talked about tonight's games. Let me just rewind for a second and talk about last night's games because I want to get into this with Alan May next. I was very, very careful in all of my writings and on this show and social media posts last week saying, for now, playoff experience isn't meaning anything in the Stanley Cup playoffs. For now. What am I talking about? Anaheim going up in the series on Edmonton. Philadelphia jumping out to a 3-0 series lead on Pittsburgh. Montreal jumping out in a 2-1 series lead on Tampa Bay. Utah jumping out up 2-1 on all these series. The teams with less experience, in some cases, were rolling. Then all of a sudden, Tampa, it's like the Undertaker when he sits up. That was Tampa with a Crozier hit. Boom! On Slavkovsky in Game 4. Flipped the game. John Cooper, the coach, said afterwards, he's been coaching long enough to know that a one hit, one save, one hit post can change a game. And that's what's so awesome about the Stanley Cup playoffs and hockey overall. So now we're seeing all those the old G's, the original gangsters come back. Sydney's pissed off now. And I was 2 for 2 on picks last night because I felt Vegas is a better team than Utah. Overall, 1-20, they're a better team. That doesn't always mean you're going to win in any specific game, but over a 7-game series, you should. And this morning on NHL radio, they were talking about the Philly Flyers, which to me, for whatever reason, has been the most, to me, okay, just me, the most entertaining series. I've really loved the Montreal-Tampa Bay series, but I'm a sucker for Sidney Crosby and Erik Karlsson and Letang and Malkin and all those guys. And just to see them come back, feels like these might be some very long series, which is what I think we all want. I know that's what I want. Sitting back here thinking, what are we going to do when they get down to 1-2 games a night? That sucks. By the way, just telling you again, the daily poll for Party of the Summer, Raven, Saskatchewan, July 9th to the 12th, featuring Lainey Wilson and Creed. Get your tickets now at countrythunder.com/SK. Just $20 down secures your weekend pass. They're welcoming all Americans as well. Poll question is, will the Edmonton Oilers stave off elimination tonight? And 74% of you saying yes, they will. Quickly, point 4 of the Quick Six show topics. Boston starter Ranger Suarez was brilliant over 8 shutout innings to help the Boston Red Sox extend their winning streak to 3 games with a 5-0 victory over the Toronto Blue Jays Monday night. The Jays have dropped 3 of their last 8. And point 5, NBA playoffs tonight. Philadelphia is at Boston. The Celtics lead the series 3-1. Atlanta Hawks at the New York Knicks. That series tied 2-2. And Portland at San Antonio, the Spurs lead 3-1. But I'll tell you something. Everybody's saying it. Where is the guy here? I think it's Gary writes in. He says, the NBA is not a good product as it stands now. The NHL forever has been the best sports games. Well, for sure, the best playoffs. And we kind of knew that it would be. And we'll talk about that with Alan May next. Get your questions in for Al, 902-518-3033. Estevan Bruins alum, Brandon Wheat Kings alum. Capitals, Oilers, Stars, maybe a few more in there. Alan May joins us next from Washington Capitals Television, talking Stanley Cup playoffs. We'll be right back. You're watching Across Nevada on Silver State Sports and across Canada, 33 states on Game Plus TV.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
You have a vision, a big idea, but how do you turn ambition into absolute impact? It starts with connection. Booking top-tier speakers and executing seamless events. That's the EMJ difference. We position your brand where it belongs, Guy, through powerful advertising, strategic media, and promotion that drives results. At EMJ Marketing, we don't just promote, we partner. Your growth, our mission.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live. Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
RP Show brought to you in part by Suds Full Service Car Wash. Are you stuck for gift ideas? Suds gift cards available online at our location or at Costco. They're the ultimate for anyone who loves a clean ride. Visit sudsregina.com. Al May joins us from Washington Capitals Television. Hey, Al, I don't want to throw a curveball at you, but you're a sharp guy. I think you can handle this. All your years in the booths, you must have crossed paths with John Garrett a couple of times, the iconic Canucks broadcaster and goalie passing away at the age of 74. You must have some thoughts on that for our Vancouver viewers.
Well, all these years of working out on the East Coast, I had favorite broadcasts, and Vancouver was one of my favorites for late night. Get home after my own game and go home and to see John Garrett and Shorthouse, and they were just a dynamic duo. But he brought so much levity to the broadcast, a passion, a love for the game, and so energetic. And then when you get to meet the guy, he was just a ball of energy. So very sad at his loss. And I think it's probably universal the way everyone absolutely felt about this guy. He brought so much fun to the Canucks broadcast, but every person that's ever crossed his path has nothing but great things to say about a really good man. And, he just seems so young and he was still working right up to the last minute here. So terribly sad news today. I was shocked when I heard earlier this morning.
I was too, but I tell you what, at the end of the day, for all of us, if they can say he was a great guy, I think that's what we all want. And that's what they can say about John Garrett. So you're not in the playoffs, Al. What are you doing with your time? How much does it suck?
Well, it super sucks. And, it just makes the off season too long for me. And, the other thing people don't realize, and I think I've shared this before, is that every single one of us that covers the game, that played the game, and, I get on the plane, I get on the bus with the players, and you hear them after a game, and they're talking about the numbers that everyone is putting up. So we're all super fans, and they're talking about who won and who lost and who had a hattie and who was -4. And we're all the same. And I remember when I was playing junior hockey in Estevan, Saskatchewan, the best part of my day, other than being on the ice for practice or a game, was reading the box scores in the Regina Leader Post. And, before that, it was the Edmonton Sun and the Edmonton Journal at home before I played junior. But that, we're also locked into this game. And so, my team's not in it, so I don't have that fire and, I'm not wearing my tie every day. But I'm watching every damn game there is, and there's been a lot of great games so far in the playoffs. I'm fortunate. I have a really good service that I got through the NHL, and I can watch any broadcast that I want to. And, there's certain broadcasts I don't like, and there's other broadcasts. So I've always got 3 to 4 options of what to watch. But I'm watching every game right now, sometimes alone and sometimes with groups of friends, so we can talk trash about people and games and referees and rules, everything that there is to go with it. So just hardcore hockey watching.
Well, I'll tell you what, let me just pause before we get Stanley Cup. The Centennial Cup is in Summerside, PEI, and one of the greatest times of my life was Estevan with you and Joe Watson and Grant Jennings and Jeff Pearson. I'm sitting there looking at flights going, flights to Summerside. If anybody's watching in the Maritimes, get to Summerside. 3 games a day, 10 days. You remember, you changed your flight to stay. You were having so much fun.
Well, I'd love to go to that myself because PEI is absolutely gorgeous and to watch all that hockey. It was a great time. And, we had some great spring Saskatchewan weather and we had some ugly Saskatchewan weather when we were there. But the bottom line is we spent most of the time in the hockey arena. And Jeff will tell you, I spent most of my time when at the house inside the sauna trying to stay warm. So it's a great time and it brings back great memories because when I played, at that level. Saskatchewan played Manitoba for the right to play the winner of British Columbia and Alberta. And my team, Estevan, we lost to Penticton and Joe Murphy. But what a great time it was. And I think we played 5 playoff series that year. And Penticton would have played 6, I imagine. So, great times for all these young players. And we saw some really good hockey players in Estevan. I think of TJ Hughes, who plays for Michigan, who was just phenomenal in that tournament. And he had a bad wing. But Brooks ran away with that one, and I'm looking forward to see who wins this year's.
Yeah, and you're doing all your CBS sports hits out of Estevan. God, that was great. Okay, to this year's Stanley Cup, what's been the best series in your mind?
Montreal Tampa. It reminds me so much of the hockey in the 80s and 90s. And they're playing with a lot of hatred. They're playing with so much energy, and there's a lot of offensive skill. But the big hits feel like they're happening every shift. There's a lot of controversy. I don't know if there's anything that's coming close to that series right now. And you have 2 completely different teams. Montreal is much watch TV. Tampa is must watch TV. And Montreal's not backing down. They're going toe to toe, and they're establishing so much hate in that series. But at the same time, it's such entertaining, electric hockey. So to me, that's the number one series to watch. And I'm loving watching the Buffalo Sabres having success so far in the playoffs and still playing with a ton of pizzazz, playing with passion, physicality, scoring goals. But, goaltending's been great in the playoffs, but there's just so many great things. And I want every series to go 7, and get as much hockey as I can. But this Montreal Tampa, I hope it goes 7 games. I'm just loving watching every second of it.
Well, okay, so to this playoff experience thing, this poor Slafkovsky, I mean, he's awesome, right? But game 2, Hagel beats the hell out of him, and the game turns. Game 4, Crozier lays him out at center, and the game turns. He's been on the losing end of both of those situations.
Well, didn't he have a big hat trick early on in the series as well? So
yes,
game 1. What I love about
game 1, he won.
Yeah,
it.
yeah. And so what I love about it is this guy was taking it on the chin. And I think it's a hindrance to go first overall, and and everyone is expecting Shane Wright to go, but Slafkovsky's a phenomenal NHL player, and as he grows into that body, he gets even better and better, and he looks like to me like he is the leader of the Montreal Canadiens. Everyone's talking about Suzuki and the other players, and Hudson's an electric player. Caulfield, I can't get enough watching him, but when I look at Slafkovsky, big and strong and none of the guys from Czech or Slovak know how to really fight. And the fact that he dropped the gloves, I love it. He got right back up. He came back at it. He's throwing some monster hits. He's taken some. And I'm expecting to see more great hockey out of him. So it's something else to see him grow up before our eyes. And there's no better place than to be really good in the National Hockey League playoffs. And I probably have more eyes on this playoff series than anyone that's out there when you think of it, because it's damn exciting. And players from both teams have leveled up. You've got excellent goaltending, but I just love the hatred, emotion, the passion, all of that goes in. And last year I was lucky enough to be in the broadcast booth for Washington.
Chair, because the Panthers fans are Tampa. I'm like, well, you're not playing. So, but if Montreal wins, I'll be happy. They announced the 3 stars, and the announcer was Montreal was losing his mind announcing the 3-star. It's so special to those people. Too bad they're going to lose to the Lightning. But as far as hey, what about the Oilers? What about the Oilers tonight?
Well, they're in it tough, and their 2 big gunners look like they're exhausted to me, and McDavid and Draisaitl. And, unfortunately, Connor's had to put the team on his back way too many times. And I think they're kind of caught in a situation where you have these elite, phenomenal offensive players, and they go so hard to try to outscore everybody. And then, the split in the team is they don't really have an identity of how they play every single night. Like, I think they've got to be so much better without the puck. And everyone gets over Bouchard, who's the worst plus minus player in the playoffs. But at their players, not just the superstars that are super careless, way too in their defensive coverage. And, Mark Messier, Wayne Gretzky, Anderson, Curry, all those guys, Paul Coffey, Kevin Lowe, they will tell you one thing about the Edmonton Oilers is they could score goals, but when it came playoff time, they went down a lockdown defense. And these Oilers play more of the long game than trying to, outscore a team for 5-6 minute barrage and get 12 shots and don't get a goal and end up -3 in that time. So it's really tough to watch them play right now. I really do want them to win, being an Edmonton product, and I do want to go home for the finals. But they're in it tough right now, and their best players have been struggling, and it's just an incredible amount. And I think something has to do with playing in the Olympics. And most of the guys that play in the Olympics look exhausted to me. I watched Jack Eichel last night for the Golden Knights, and he's still an awesome player, and he's been doing great, but he just doesn't have that extra. So if he's, at a 10 out of 10, it's like he's gassing at 8 and 9. So I'm looking all around the league, and I'm seeing that out of a lot of guys who went the distance in the Olympics, that they're fatigued looking.
Brady Tkachuk too. And before I pick up on that, you mentioned your hometown
in Swan Hills, and I was out of there by the time I was 6 months old, and lived in Edmonton, and then we had a detour in the Nunavik, where I started playing hockey in Nunavik in the Northwest Territories my first 3 years, and then I moved back to Edmonton. So I don't think the people in Nunavik knew that they sprouted. I was their first ever NHL hockey player, and then a kid named Zach Boyer played about 8 games, and he was actually born and raised there all the way.
Wow, I remember Zach Boyer. And I remember the name Stoneface. Stoneface. I was listening when you were speaking. Hey, so Brady Tkachuk, I heard Chris Pronger this morning on NHL radio going, what more do people need in capital?
Well, I thought he played his heart out. He couldn't get on the board. Stützle was having trouble as well. And I think one of the problems with Brady and sometimes Matthew is they get a little too carried away with the extracurricular. And you look at the body checks and all the things that are going on. And, he didn't have the success of a Konechny's had so far, but he plays kind of rat dirty hockey. And I think every team in the NHL would want Brady Tkachuk on their team. But, he's a guy that signed a long-term contract there, and he understood what he was doing. But right now, I think that the American players in the Canadian markets is going to backfire. And, you treat these guys better, like Matthews, what he's had to deal with in Toronto, Brady, what he's dealing with. And, Ottawa seems like a